Speedrunning, the art of completing a game as fast as possible. It's been getting more and more popular, even in places where you wouldn't really expect it, like in the original Plants vs. Zombies. People have been working tirelessly to figure out the inner workings of the game to beat it as fast as possible. But at the end of the day, the fastest time is still more than 3 hours. Incredibly optimized, but still quite slow. What if there was a way to just speed up the game itself? If I increased the game's internal speed by 5, surely that would make for a faster time, right? So, I fired up Cheat Engine and I set out to discover if you can beat Plants vs. Zombies at 5 times speed. A quick little thing before we start, I'm using a widescreen mod to make the game look a bit better for myself and for the audience. If you're wondering where the bushes came from, that's where. For those interested, you can find the mod's link in the description below. As expected, the initial 5 levels progressed smoothly, starting off relatively easy. However, I soon realized that specific strategies were vital for survival in this particular challenge. First off, having more than 2 sunflowers on the lawn was not viable, since you couldn't realistically collect all the sun that they would produce. Second was that it was very important to plan ahead and plant pea shooters before you'd need them, because at this speed you can't really rely on your ability to react to threats quickly. And thirdly, there was a certain point in the game where it was more important to maintain your defenses than to continue planting, which was for sanity reasons mostly. This challenge could be insanely stressful. After getting Potato Mine, the game started to get noticeably easier, since it was a very excellent way of dealing with strong early game zombies. However, Pole Vaulting Zombie turned out to be a very formidable threat, either wiping out its entire lane or most of it if not taken care of properly. Snowpea did greatly help with this issue, if I managed to plant them quick enough. I also ended up using walnuts way more often than I usually do, which was an interesting change of pace. We also unlocked Repeater, which went unused for the majority of the game, and Chomper, which I will discuss at length later in this video, since that's a whole rant of its own, which I'm not gonna get into at this time. Finally, after one final minigame, the day was beaten and it was time for the night. Not everyone might know that the night levels are actually the easiest levels in the entire game, and not much would change about this in this challenge. The non-minigame levels are as simple as just placing puff rooms everywhere. Sure, those strategies wouldn't work in the minigame levels, but that's hardly something we have to worry about right now. After breezing through 4 levels just by spamming puff and fume shrooms, I was starting to feel pretty good about this challenge. Little did I know that the game, sensing my weakness, rewarded my vanity with level 2-5. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This level lived rent-free in my mind, and every waking moment I didn't spend on this challenge, I was thinking of strategies how to beat this behemoth of a level. Level 2-5, also known as Wacka Zombie, features a nearly endless onslaught of zombies that emerge from gravestones, significantly speedier than normal zombies. Although it was difficult to determine the exact speed, my estimation was that they moved at least 3 to 5 times faster, which is particularly noteworthy considering my game was already running at 5 times speed, resulting in a total increase of 1500 to 2500%. Zombie speeds seem to also be a random Gaussian, which means that zombies will usually walk at a consistent speed, but may sometimes be faster or slower than others. This created a zombie type which I ended up calling Dashers, a rare zombie that moved so fast I estimate at 30 to 35 times that they almost instantly moved into the lawnmowers, or if you were unlucky, into your home. Encountering one of these Dashers often meant an instant game over. And then there was also the problem of dropped sun. Zombies in this minigame would occasionally drop 3 suns on death, which means that I would click on the dropped sun instead of the approaching zombies, wasting precious seconds. Sun was also completely unusable in this minigame since I had little to no time to even place a single plant. All these factors made for an exceedingly frustrating experience. After numerous attempts on this level, I started to think of level-specific strategies, like resetting when the grave placements were too close to home, or shifting focus to a different zombie when sun was dropped by another, giving it time to despawn. Even after all this, it became clear that this approach was simply not viable. In the end, my clicking output was not enough, barely reaching 6.2 clicks per second at optimal conditions. It was time to increase output. While 12 clicks per second was good, it still didn't make a dent in the amount of zombies I had to whack. Undeterred, I persisted in my attempts, investing another half hour into the level. But my attempts proved futile, and it was time for yet another upgrade. Now, you might be wondering, how do you use more than 2 mice when you only have 2 hands? Behold. Clicks, 14.6 per second. Level, unbeaten. I had more than doubled my clicking speed, and victory was still nowhere in sight. Was this the end? Would I finally be beaten? No, not quite. I still had one last trick up my sleeve. See, when you hold the spacebar in Plants vs. Zombies, the game rapidly pauses and unpauses, around 20 times per second. This means that the game would effectively move at half the speed, which still isn't much given the nature of this challenge, but this would set the zombie's speed to around 1000%, which is much more manageable. So I grabbed an old phone I wasn't using, laid it on top of my iPad to create a makeshift weight, and I used it to hold down the spacebar. And within a few tries... The rest of the night levels went pretty smoothly. Using Fume Shroom and Puff Shroom meant that it was near impossible for a normal zombie to break through, and the final level just had me spamming Doom Shroom non-stop, to great effect. With this world out of the way, it was time for the pool. Hey there, I just wanted to take a quick second to tell you that I have a Discord server now where you can discuss all kinds of stuff related to my Mr. Beast extension, speedrunning, and my YouTube videos. Join if you're interested or have any questions. The pool levels were definitely harder than the first 2 worlds. With 6 lanes to monitor, 2 of which were pool lanes, having to use lily pads on the water lanes proved quite a challenge. On top of that, tougher zombies seemed to spawn more frequently, and snorkel zombies required at least 4 plants to reliably take care of, and 6 if you didn't want to constantly be replanting walnuts. I also died several times because I forgot to buy pool cleaners, since regular lawnmowers don't work in the water lanes. Luckily, I had a substantial amount of coins from playing a lot of Wacka Zombie. And with that came level 3-5. Level 3-5, also called Big Trouble Little Zombies, is a minigame that features a large amount of very small zombies, moving quicker, eating faster, but also dying easily. If level 2-5 wasn't bad enough, on top of moving very quickly, the zombies were also incredibly hard to spot at this speed, being so tiny. I would sometimes die just because I didn't notice a snorkel zombie which had been in the water. With a combination of skill, practice, and luck, I managed to beat this level in a couple of tries. From this I got chili pepper, which, like the rest of the plants from the pool, went unused, with tall nut being the exception. Level 3-9 was a hard nut to crack, but after 2 tries and a lot of tall nuts, I managed to get it done. And after beating the final level, which was a game of spamming every plant on the conveyor belt, it was time for the fog.
Hello, I am Mr. Beast. The fog is coming. The fog is coming.
The fog levels are usually pretty straightforward. Mushrooms make these levels much easier, but with 6 lanes to manage, including 2 water lanes, there is quite a bit of pressure from the zombies. A conehead in an unprepared lane meant that I would have to use a squash or lose a lawnmower, as it was hard to see them coming from far enough because of the fog. The larger variety of zombies in the fog was also a problem. Balloon zombies couldn't reliably be dealt with because of the limited sun, and would often launch a lawnmower. Football zombies were usually a lost cause unless dealt with quickly, and digger zombies quickly made it impossible to beat these levels in a regular fashion. That's when I came to the conclusion that I was gonna need some help. Cattail was the ideal candidate, but the price was less so. Still, I figured that if I beat all available minigames, I would be able to buy him no problem. The minigame, which I thought would be the easiest, turned out to be everything but. Walnut bowling features such a large amount of zombies that I decided to put it off for now, and focus on the other levels first. After losing several times to both walnut bowling and slot machines, I figured that I was probably just tired, and decided to quit for the day. This was a good plan, seeing that I beat some botany and walnut bowling the next time I played. These levels sure weren't as hard as you remembered, huh? With just a few more coins, I was able to buy Cattail. Cattail made the fog levels into a cakewalk. It's placed on the water, so it's safe from the more dangerous threats. His amazing homing power made it so I didn't have to worry about diggers or balloon zombies, and the general firepower was enough to deal with most zombies, with some puff shrooms as support. The final minigame was reasonably easy, as I mostly just spammed all the plants on the conveyor belt again, and in the end it all turned out fine. It was time for the final world, the roof. The first roof level was fairly straightforward, except for the fact that flower pots cannot be planted, so any pots I lose can't be recovered. Also, did you know that bungee zombies spawn on the first level? At this speed there's virtually nothing you can do about them, so that plant or pot that they targeted is just gone. The second level was where the issues really started to pop up. Bucketheads and pole vaulting zombies became regular adversaries, and I had no lawnmowers to combat them when things went south. Nevertheless, this second level went fairly well, and I moved on to the next. Level 4 reintroduced pogo, football, and ladder zombies, making magnet shroom a necessity. It took some trial and error, but after a few attempts I beat this level too. I find it incredible that Chomper never got buffed by the developers before he made it into the final game. Cheap instant kill plants make him completely irrelevant and outclassed in every way, being more expensive, having to chew after biting, and being completely useless against vehicles and gargantuars. His chewing time was actually cut in half in the second game, and he even gained the ability to eat 2 zombies instead of just 1, and he's still easily one of the worst plants in the entire game. At least they did their justice in PvZ Heroes, making it a viable plant and styling an entire hero after him. Level 5 is another minigame level, where your only plants are Chomper, Pumpkin, Cherry Bomb, and Flower Pot. This level is quite a hard one, not gonna lie. The speed of the zombies makes it so when you're not paying attention to ladder zombies, they can easily enter run. After a couple of tries, I beat this level too, but it was clear that I was gonna need some lawnmowers. I needed just 1,000 more coins to buy them, so I beat the first puzzle levels to earn some more. In level 6, Catapult Zombie had joined the fray. While these were not easy to deal with, in the end it just required me to occasionally replace a plant it had destroyed. Umbrella Leaf was the next plant in our progression, so after that, catapults became a non-issue. Since I wasn't using many sunflowers anyway, integrating Umbrella Leaf into my setup was no problem. Level 8 is the first level to feature gargantuars, and I dealt with them exactly how you would expect. Since every level features a max of 2 gargantuars, I could just take them out with some insta-kill plants. The imps posed more of a problem, since the gargantuars threw these right into my defenses. But if I used chili pepper to finish the gargantuar, it would also take care of the imp. Our reward for our efforts was unlocking the melon cult, which was probably discarded and never used for normal levels. The final normal adventure level sure wasn't easy either. I faced 3 waves of almost all zombie types the roof had to offer, and it was hard to keep up. Even though I lost a lane right before the final wave, I eventually managed to play well enough and beat this level too. It was finally time to finish this challenge once and for good, by defeating Zomboss himself. To say I underestimated this level is an understatement. Normally, this level requires a constant usage of insta-kill plants to deal with the high volume zombies on the field. Catapults are really only useful for damaging Zombot, so my strategy of just placing a good defense and just chilling immediately proved worthless. I was gonna need a new plan. Then I recalled an old cheese strategy that involved exploiting Zombot's AI. See, Zombot's spawning mechanics are designed to spawn more zombies on lanes that have more plants on them, or that contain a lawnmower. This was done to make the game more forgiving for new players, but it enables an incredibly cheesy exploit. When a lane is void of plants and lawnmowers, zombie spawn chances are drastically reduced to almost zero, essentially making them stop spawning altogether. Of course, given the nature of this challenge, zombies would occasionally still spawn in these lanes, and these outliers could easily end a run when you're not careful. The general idea for this strategy was to only plant on a single lane, so zombies would only spawn there, making the level more manageable. The first attempt didn't go as planned, mostly because I kept misclicking when planting, often leading to my lane getting cleared by a zombie or a zomboss attack. Pogo zombies were also a huge problem, since they're barely slowed down by the plants in the lane and not affected by ice shroom. After my first death, I slightly adjusted my strategy. Instead of planting on the middle lane, which I did first, I decided to plant on the top lane instead, for a couple of reasons. Reason 1 is that it's easier to plant on the first lane from the conveyor belt, minimizing the mouse movement required. Reason 2 is that Zombot has a lower chance of throwing a van on your lane. The vans he throws are 2 lanes wide, so either a direct hit or a hit on the lane below or above would destroy my plants. By planting on the top lane, that eliminated the chance of a van hitting the lane above. Reason 3 was that gargantuars can never appear on the top lane. This is actually something I learned from a video by General John, but I completely forgot about it until I beat this challenge. After reviewing the final footage, I confirmed that no gargantuar spawned on the final attempt. After changing strategies, everything went great. I had to be vigilant of zombies on empty lanes and the occasional pogo. Using only one lane meant that my damage output was severely limited, meaning that the final attempt took 6 minutes, which is 30 minutes of in-game time. Well, without further ado, here are some highlights from the final attempt. And that's it. Can you beat Plants vs. Zombies at 5 times speed? Sort of. If you count multiple mice and the pause exploit as cheating, then the answer is no. Personally though, I'd say I used my wits and my skills to beat this challenge fair and square, and I'll definitely be putting this on my resume. All the time spent on this challenge totals up to be around 3.5 hours, and this puts me at a comfortable 23rd place on the leaderboard. I hope they accept my submission soon. With all that being said, enjoy this extremely weird credit sequence.
Sunflower. 1, 2, 3. There's a zombie on your lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. We don't want zombies on our lawn.
Wah wabba 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 wabby wabba wabba wah. I have been given a voice, and now I must scream. Sorry, neighbor, but I had to justify my 11 Lab subscription on my tax write-off. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Why? Because I'm crazy.